So at this point, we have done a fair amount in InDesign, but really, if you want to get down to it, we've essentially just done a lot of glorified play. And that's not bad. It's good to understand the tools and how they work and what you can do with them. But as far as actually making a nice document, we haven't really done that yet. So, before getting into a lot of design specifications and technicalities, let's talk about some of the basics. So if you're doing InDesign, you're creating some sort of document that should look nice and has the intent to hopefully be read by somebody. Now in our previous document, I didn't actually export the final one, but I did export kind of a step in between. So if I open this in Acrobat, I don't have the large word Africa with this picture inside of it, but I do have the picture here with this overlay effect and some of the different effects that I'd put on there. And I have some text down here and the images, etc. Now the idea in any document is that someone actually reads it, right? But when I'm looking at this, right now, due to the design itself, I don't have much desire to read this text down here. I'm too busy looking at everything that's here. And that's one of the things about design, is that even though to someone who doesn't know this might look impressive because they're like, oh, look at all those things that you did. If you're focused on the design of a document instead of the content itself, then it's not a very good design. Now, if you're studying design or you're becoming a designer and you're looking at the design because you're looking at design, that might be a little different because you're kind of training yourself to become a designer. But if a regular person who doesn't know design and doesn't understand design, if they are distracted by all the things going on and they're missing the main point, then it's not a good design. Now, in addition to that, even if you do get them to read the text, or to look at the text, hopefully they read it, you have two other issues, and that's legibility and readability. So I want to discuss those really briefly. I'm not going to go into big technicalities about them, but I do want you to at least understand the idea of them. So I'm just going to open InDesign. Alright, so I'm just creating a new document. I'm just going to leave it regular letter size. These settings don't really matter. You can change it if you want to. So I'm just going to click OK. Alright, so the difference between legibility and readability is fairly important. So legibility has to do with the font itself. So if I just make a really big text box and I type something out, and let's make this big enough so we can actually get a good feel for it. So maybe 48, that seems pretty good. Give us a little bit of space. Put it in the center. Okay, so legibility has to do with the font itself. Can you easily and accurately distinguish between the different characters? And this is going to change from one font to another. So if I open some of my type windows, there we go, and I jump from different fonts, you can see that some of them are significantly less legible than others. Now, this isn't always a terrible thing. It also depends, too, on what are you typing and how much of that type is there. Now, a very commonly looked at example would be, in specific, the capital I, the lowercase l, and the number 1. And this is a big issue, especially if it's something like a URL, or some of the letters might not be recognizable words. They might be various letters or numbers to get you to a specific website, right? So if we go from one font to another, let's look at, can we actually tell what we're looking at? Is there a significant difference between the characters, or would someone be confused on that? In addition to these, you could also add in maybe a capital O and a number 0. And there's a few others that can be issues from time to time depending on that specific font, but these are the most common issues. So if we switch from different fonts, already in this one we can see an issue between the capital I and the lowercase l. They look pretty much identical. And the capital O and the 0, they are significantly different, but if you're not familiar with that font, are you going to know which one is which? That's kind of an issue there. So you can see how some of these could make it difficult for someone to read those characters if they were in a big chunk of text, or if they were in something specific like maybe a name or a URL. When we talk about readability, it's not about the individual font, it's more holistic. So looking at the document as a whole or chunks of that document.